traditional. However, yeah, we can leave that one up. That's great. With the traditional, you know what? If you want to slide to the next one, that sounds awesome. There's the 4, but here's traditional. It really is, at least in some ways, although we're calling it traditional, it's not going to be traditional. I suspect, guys, that the only time we would go traditional, and this is just an assumption on my part, would be once there's a vaccine for COVID, and we've had a chance to administer that, and then actually go back to traditional, which would be kind of the way it was before with some social distancing. Really, right now, our traditional means this. Parents who want to send their children to school can send their children to school. We are making a significant number of changes within our building. Right now, we've put out a survey, and we have 709 responses. I'm also going to have Ms. Davidson put that link in the chat, only because if you have not taken that, that's really important information for us. But right now, we have about 40% of our parents who say, yep, let's go back to traditional. Then we have about 20% that give another option that's called an 8A/B schedule option. We'll cover that in a second. But with traditional, we'll be adjusting arrival dismissal. We'll be adjusting the social distancing protocol within our building. We'll be adjusting and within the classroom how we travel in the hallways, how we utilize the cafeteria, again, how we handle dismissal, and even within the classroom, when masks are required, when masks aren't required. So even though we're calling it traditional, it is a tradition that follows all of DHEC expectations for social distancing. DHEC is what we're going to follow. We'll be looking at other aspects for advice, but here in South Carolina, we'll follow the DHEC recommendations and then go beyond that. We'll never go lower than the DHEC recommendation. We may go to a higher alert level in making sure we provide the safety. And again, in a typical classroom, what that's going to look like in a traditional setting, I may ask Mr. Swartz to jump in here in a second, but not quite yet. Each of our classrooms, Mr. Coward's going through, and we're reducing them down to anywhere from 12 to 14 desks, down from the 23 to 25, knowing that can kind of accommodate the number of students that will be here. However, for parents who choose one of the other options we'll talk about, and that's like, hey, I'm really not ready to send them back, but I do want my student following along with the teacher in the classroom, just like the students that are there. There's going to be 14 students max in the class, and we'll show you a sample of a classroom and a little video we put together on that. A total of 14 max in the class, but there'll also be a camera. We've spent right around $100,000 on these cameras and equipment, the microphone for our parents. The camera is called, I've got one here in my hand. I don't know, Ms. Davis, if you want to take off that slide so they can see this a little better. This is called an OWL, and if I could light up, you'd see why. It has like 2 little lights here, but it's a high-def 360-degree camera that also picks up the sound. And whether someone is at home or someone's in the classroom, the camera slides to whoever's talking. We don't have ours in. We have 53 of these coming. Ms. Davidson actually worked with Charleston Southern University. They graciously, being a great partner of ours, let us borrow one of these cameras until Friday. So Mr. Swartz we joked around that he was going to dissect it since now, but he's not. He's going to simply kind of kick the tires on it, figure out exactly how it works in the room, what exactly we need to make sure it works seamlessly in a room. Then when ours arrive, we can quickly get them out into every single classroom in our building. But these are pretty spectacular. And the reason we need those is that for those parents who are going to be, who will be requesting to be a part of that traditional setting, but from home, they'll actually be displayed on the smart board. So on the smart board, we'll have the students who are participating in the class. They'll be able to hear everything. They'll be able to participate as if they were in the class. So it's as close to being able to give that opportunity to be in here as we can. So we're really excited about that. Mr. Swartz, I don't know if you want to pop in here, anything you want to say about the OWL, if you've had a chance to kind of kick the tires on a little bit, buddy.
Hey, yes, sir. I was actually using it a few minutes ago with one of my students that I'm currently working with one-on-one, and I had it set up in my class or in my office, and the student was using it, and he was completely blown away. Couldn't understand how I could walk around the room and the OWL was actually following me. The speakers on it were fantastic. He said that the speakers were better than my headphones, which I'm a gamer, so I got pretty okay headphones. So that was really, really amazing. And just to see the technology at use and the ease of it, that's going to be so easy for not only teachers, but also parents and students, it really made me feel a lot better about this transition.
Awesome. Thank you, Swartz. I appreciate that. Again, I've got all those people, that whole team. They're the ones really doing the legwork on a lot of this. They're available. So I may call on them throughout this presentation to be able to join in and help me out. Okay, Ms. Davison, let's move on to the next option. Let's go with the A-Day, B-Day option, if you don't mind. Okay, great. Again, this is an option for parents, and I want to make sure in the survey, I want to make sure I explain this, okay? There's an option for parents that say, I'm okay with sending my students like every other day. That is an option. If you want to send them on A days and then have them at home learning on B days, so they're not in the building as much, that's perfectly fine. If you want to switch from an A day, B day, particularly after this information, and you can see all that we're doing to make sure that we put safety first, we just need to make sure that we know that. And we'll have you reach out most likely to Ms. Coyle. We'll talk about that here in a second to make that change. She's actually working on the class list. What the A-Day, B-Day would be, the classroom experience would be much like we just talked about with the distance learning or with the social distancing practices in place. And again, we'll hit those more. And then on the B-Days, that would be at home, as we also talked about in the traditional, being on the smart board, utilizing the owl so the camera can move to you and the volume would switch to you if your son or daughter is trying to participate. So that's an A-Day, B-Day option. Right now, I think we have about 15% or so of our students who have opted for that, but it might possibly be that after watching this, you want to flip that around and maybe come traditional here at school all 5 days. Totally up to you. At this point, when we combine half of the students who would be A-Day, B-Day, knowing they would be changing, and then our students who want to be here, we have about 50% of our students that are in attendance and about 50% that would be working from home. That puts us in a really, really good spot as far as being able to really, really do a great job with social distancing and meet the class size maxes. And I mentioned this briefly, Ms. Coyle right now, as we take that survey information, she's tweaking what we had already established for our class list and making sure that they're balanced. So there's not one teacher that may have 18 and another teacher that has 7. We want to just make sure that we don't go past that capacity where we've got the room set up with the tape down so we can follow the social distancing protocol. So again, the A-Day, B-Day, just to kind of summarize that one, that would be being here one day, being home one day. I do not foresee us, based on our data, needing to go to a full A-Day, B-Day schedule where we have some students here A-Day, they're not here on B-Day. All students are on the A-Day side. The A-Day cohort are here on A-Day. Then on B-Day, they're home. And then kind of the opposite with the B-Day, A-Day, if that makes sense. So I think we will be able to provide the 5 days with social distancing without needing to go to a full A-Day, B-Day. But A-Day, B-Day is an option if you only want to have your son or daughter here every other day. Hopefully that makes sense. We can kind of clear that one up later if we have any questions on it. Ms. Davidson, let's go with fully mobile. Guys, no, I take it back, Ms. Davidson. If you don't mind, let's go with fully mobile A. This is the one. Let me just make sure. Yes. Okay, great. With fully mobile A, again, kind of like we talked about, fully mobile A is going to be the option that is going to allow your son or daughter to be part of the teaching day. That does not necessarily mean they need to be in front of the computer between 8 and 3. It may or may not be that they participate in the special classes. We can work that out. If clearly, like during lunch, they don't have to be a part of that. But for the core classes, the expectation with fully mobile A is that your son or daughter is staying at home. You're just not quite ready for them to come back to school, but you want them to have the experience and the opportunity to, as close as possible, be in the classroom. So that would mean they would be there. We would count attendance just like as if they were here. There really is no difference other than the fact they're not physically in the room. there's really no difference in that setting. So right now, I think we have about 27 or 28% of our parents who are looking at that fully mobile A option of saying, I want them to get the classroom experience, but I'm not ready. Okay. And this is where we kind of differentiate. We also have a fully mobile B option. And this is the one, guys. And again, this is us trying our best to meet every single one of your scenarios. It may be that you're just saying, hey, Mr. Stickle, I appreciate everything you're all doing, but I'm looking at the numbers. They're going up. They're not going down. So I'm just not ready to send my child. But with my job, and again, we haven't like closed things down. With my job, I can't be home. I really need to do a fully mobile option that is more similar to what Meavers did in March, where we quickly switched to where students had some flexibility as to when they did their lesson with pre-recorded lessons and pre-recorded meetings. We would be working to make some of those available, but then the work that you do will really be based on your schedule, not necessarily set times. There may be some set times that the teacher has, but it gives you far more flexibility so you aren't tied to that school day. Again, trying to have empathy and understanding for what our parents are going through. And I know I shared this with y'all back in March and April. The best thing for us was the number of teachers that we had who also had students in school. And it was so important for us to hear their voice kind of representing all parents of just how difficult it was to try to do your job and then still be present, particularly with the little ones. So again, those are our 4 options. We will be getting this presentation out